What's going on, guys? Welcome back to VeVe Investments. On today's episode, we're going to be discussing some brands you can invest in on the VeVe app to prepare for Eastern adoption. I should be getting my camera back up shortly, so I appreciate everybody bearing with me while I've dealt with that on my end. And as for Showroom Showdown, guys, we got less than a week. I'm super excited. If you want your chance to win 10,000 OMI and a golden trophy NFT, make sure to submit your creation over on Instagram at VeVe Investments, link in the description. As for episode 13, guys, let's get on with the video. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. All right, so kicking it off, we got Ultraman. For those who don't know, Ultraman is going to have the equivalent cultural significance to that of Superman over in the US. Obviously, everybody watching this video knows who Superman is. One of the most notable logos of all time. I think ranking right behind the Holy Cross, just to put it into perspective for you. This series is one of the most prominent tokusatsu. I think I'm pronouncing that right. You guys can make fun of me in the comment section down below. One of the most prominent superhero genre productions from Japan. Ultraman back in the 1980s was actually the world's third top selling licensed character, not just even superhero, character overall, which is, nothing to shy away from. And something very important to note, in my opinion, is considering the fact that Ultraman is most popular in countries like China and Japan, the Ultraman drops on VeVe are actually currently not available in those countries. Now, I'm pretty sure this has to do with the fact that Ultraman has been dealing with a long-term legal battle for several years now. So in terms of getting the IP approved in countries like that, it's a whole other ballgame for VeVe's legal team. Now, completely unrelated to VeVe, just my general understanding in the crypto and NFT space is, China has banned Bitcoin multiple times now. However, from my understanding, the government is pushing NFTs, or the technology behind NFTs. So I only see that as a positive thing for Ultraman, but it's going to take a little longer for countries like that to be exposed to pieces like this. However, that's why I'm making this video, right? Is because people like us in the West, I'm in Canada, right? As well as for people in, the US, UK, you have lots of people in those countries on this app. And this is a tremendous opportunity for people like you to be getting in on pieces like this. Next, we're going to have Pili Fantasy. Now, Pili Fantasy, guys, is actually going to be one of the brands that I have my eye on most on the app. That might surprise some people considering we got Marvel and Disney and things like that. However, I talked about this in a previous video of mine. I largely remember the AMA the day before this brand dropped on VeVe and how David was talking about his memories with Pili Fantasy. So he was talking about how he grew up as a kid. His parents would always watch this show. He talked about how the brand has thousands of characters, and of the 4 that they were going to be releasing tomorrow, right? Talking about this the day before, they were the 4 most popular in the entire brand. He talked about how there were multiple NFT artists who pitched Pili Fantasy to create NFTs for them. Pili Fantasy ended up declining all of them and choosing to go with VeVe. And so there was so many green lights that were just flickering for me here when I started to do more research and realized that, okay, this brand is very popular in certain parts of Asia, Taiwan specifically. And again, just going back to the point that I just talked about with Ultraman, how we have an opportunity to get in on pieces like this early. Pili Fantasy is a fantastic example. Why? At the height of its popularity, it reached 97% peak TV viewership in Taiwan. They continue to broadcast 2 episodes with all new content every week and have a large number of loyal fans. And this can, to an extent, be described as somewhat of a lifestyle or religion in parts of Asia, again, specifically Taiwan. Once a year in Taiwan, there's an annual celebration where all of the temples, there's thousands of temples in Taiwan, they host puppet shows, or they have puppet shows going on during these celebrations, which is essentially exactly what Pili Fantasy is. Now, considering the fact that the brand does have thousands of characters like David had mentioned, I don't think every single thing that they drop related to Pili Fantasy is going to be valuable in the future. But considering the fact that there is only 1 series on the app right now, and David said that they're arguably the 4 most popular, these are certainly pieces that I'm stacking and I see great potential with in the future. All right, next up, guys, we got stamps. So for those who don't know, there's approximately 50 million stamp collectors worldwide, and a full third of them, 33%, they reside in China. VeVe's CEO, Mr. David Yu himself, he also started as and still is a huge stamp collector. I remember the last stamp drop, he was a big advocate for that, which I believe was the presidential stamp collection, which is coming up next in the slideshow, I think. And then over in China, the hobby is a sign of a middle-class status and an indication of a respectable, scholarly disposition. So going all the way back into 2000, the Chinese government made it an official policy to foster stamp collecting among youngsters. They did this by encouraging elementary and high school teachers to organize clubs as a way to foster interest in national history. So, going back in the day, stamp collecting was, it was a pretty big hobby worldwide, even over here in the West. However, as time has gone by, the hobby has kind of died down on this side of the world, but over in the East, specifically China, stamp collecting is still very, very popular. Again, going back to the first point, 1/3 of all stamp collectors reside within China. And next up, we got Tokidoki. So Tokidoki is actually going to be a bit of a different brand here. And the reason I say that is because it did not actually originate over in Asia. So Tokidoki is a Japanese-inspired lifestyle brand created back in 2006. They produce apparel, footwear, accessories, and other products using art, cartoon characters, and the logo itself. However, the brand was created by a European artist, specifically Italian. His name is Simone Legno, and their headquarters are in LA, California. Now, despite this, Tokidoki has amassed quite a big following over in Asia, specifically the Chinese market. And based off my research, the Asian market is very fond of the blind box format. Exactly like that on VeVe, where you purchase a drop and you get a random rarity of those available on the drop, is going to be the same way that a lot of the Tokidoki merchandise is sold over in China. Now, they don't have any specific stores from my understanding. However, there are a lot of independent third-party stores that focus on selling this merchandise. An example of this would be a store that actually offers secret color chasers that can only be found in the blind boxes that they offer at that store. And that would be for the Mermicornos that you guys see on screen right now. So again, despite the fact that it didn't originate over in Asia, the brand has gained a lot of popularity over in China. In fact, there are actually several products that are exclusively available in the Chinese market before they end up hitting other markets over here in the West, like Canada and the US. All in all, I think Tokidoki is another great example of a brand you can invest in to prepare for Eastern adoption. Now that's going to conclude episode 13, guys. If you enjoyed the content, make sure to like and subscribe. We got less than a week for Showroom Showdown, so if you want to participate in that, make sure to submit your creation over on Instagram at VeVe Investments, link down below. And as for episode 14, make sure to tune in on Thursday, where I'm going to be giving my personal rankings for the Disney Golden Moments series, now that we know that that series has come to a finale. We'll see you then.